Hello everyone, and welcome to the first of my videos of movie reviews. Now, I'm no expert in movies, but I do have a Cineworld card. It's a great company. It's quite cheap, so I do go to the cinema quite a lot to get my money's worth. And I've just come back from Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, and I thought I'd give you a spoiler-free review for those of you, if anyone, who wants a quick review that's not from a critic, but just someone, a normal person. So, getting started, episode 8 starts off, without, straight from basically the ending of episode 7. So, that's as far as spoilers will go. That's about it. So, and there's one thing that I think that didn't help it was because of that, it hasn't really given our characters time to grow. All the other Star Wars films that have been in the trilogies, they've always had, at least 6 months or a year, or, in the prequels case, there's quite a big gap between episode 1 and episode 2. But there's always been a gap, which has given time for the characters to grow. So because of that, we're basically stuck with the same characters, exactly where they were from episode 7. Now, the film starts off alright. I mean, some people have been saying it's quite boring, and I can see why, but it's okay. It starts off alright. There's no new soundtrack. I mean, I think I've established that with these new films. There's the same old soundtrack they've got from, basically episode 4, 5, and 6, just repeating it. But that's okay. So, nothing really happens too much, but it's sort of like episode 5, where they try and be a bit dark, and and it's just alright. It's to an extent, it's like, different things. There's a few different things. It's not a complete rehash like episode 7 was of basically a New Hope 2, as I like to call it. But it was alright. It started alright. Until it got to about the hour mark, and this is where problems start to occur. Plot hole after plot hole after plot hole. And once their first one appears, it's very hard to get back into the film. At least for me, it was very hard to get back into it. So I was like, okay, big plot hole, let's look past that. Most films have plot holes, but at one point, near the end, they had a massive plot hole, and it just ruined the film for me. I was like, really? I mean, come on. So, yeah, that was basically the sum up of the film. So, yeah, it has a few new characters. I won't go into detail about them if you don't want spoilers, but they're nothing to write home about. They don't really do much, and I think that's the fundamental problem of the film. Nothing really much happens. There's a little difference, but really this is more like a plot to the first in a trilogy, if I'm honest, or 1.5. It really didn't seem like the middle part. You normally have a beginning, middle, and end, and episode 7 was the beginning, and this was just more of a beginning. So now, the way they've set up episode 9 is you've basically got the middle and the end. So that's probably going to be a long film. I'm going to go with 3 hours at least, I reckon. God, no. They have a lot to fill in. And you'll be quite surprised as well. There were a few things in there that I didn't expect to go the way I was. But I'd also, and I don't want to say it's too mean to Star Wars, because, I like the franchise. I don't want it to suffer. It's got good critic reviews, but I don't ever believe the critic reviews, because they basically get paid off to see the film, otherwise they can't write about it. They'll be like, oh, I'm not giving you the ticket. So that's the problem with critics, but that's another story. But it's just nothing really, like I said, nothing really happens. It's they've really dug a hole here. There was a lot to go with, and honestly, if I was to give my honest opinion, I'd say I think it's actually worse than A Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. And the reason for that is, although people, and they really are hated, and I don't think they're that bad, those films, but although, whatever your opinion on those films, they had a plot. Something happened, they, followed through with it, no matter, had all the Senate negotiations, and people don't like that. I mean, I like it because it's politics, and I found, the rise of Emperor Palpatine quite interesting, but point is, they had a plot. And another thing they did well was villains. Now, no matter how much you hate episode 1, I think almost everyone will agree that Darth Maul is a cool character. And to an extent, even General Grievous is quite cool. And then there were, the weakest character they had was Count Dooku. But all three of those characters were pretty threatening. They killed Qui-Gon Jinn. They, injured Obi-Wan and defeated Anakin, the Chosen One, if you want to go with that. But Darth Vader, they were threatening characters. They did stuff. Okay, and so no matter how bad the films were, at least I was on my seats. But the problem with Episode 8 is they've really dug a hole here because they've only got one more film now in this trilogy, and it's too late to start introducing new villains. I mean, they could, and I think they should really, because I don't see how. But the problem is with these villains is they're not threatening. At no point am I going, oh my, the protagonists are in trouble. No, you've just basically got an old man who's Snoke, just sits in his chair all day, and that's what he does in the film. Just sits in his chair. You've got a Darth Vader fanboy, Kylo Ren, who again does nothing really. He has his anger issues, but not so much this time. But he's still got his little issues, and I thought it's a unique character. It's not threatening. Okay, but I always feel you need a threatening bad guy. That doesn't mean they don't have to be physically threatening, but they need to be threatening in some way. And the problem with these villains is they haven't. I mean, you've got the Boba Fett, I forgot what her name is, but the general for the Stormtroopers. Again, she's not threatening, and again, I don't think they're using these characters to their full potential, They've got some new characters that they could really do something with them, and they haven't. And because they've now set this up, you've got, like I said, episode 1, it's episode 7.5, nothing's going to happen. So, if I was going to give it a score, I'd say, and I think this is pretty fair, I'd give it a 4 out of 10. And the problem is that because the plot holes were so big, I was taken out of it. I don't care about any of the characters, and they've had 2 films to do this. I don't care about any of the characters, and the plot isn't even very good either. I mean, you don't have to always have a good plot. I mean, it's quite important, but what I mean is there's great films like what was good films. Some of the good films like Shawshank Redemption. You have one location, a few little rooms in that location, but you're basically in the prison for the whole film. That is an amazingly wrote about film. So, they didn't have much to work with. There's a few good actors, and that always helps to have good actors. But that was a good film. But Star Wars, you have the whole universe, and they're not using it to its full potential. They don't have that. So they haven't got the environment. That's one thing they haven't got. They're not using the environment to their full potential. They're not using the actors or the characters to their full potential. So then you've got the plot, not using it to its full potential. There's not much left then. Then you've got soundtrack. And I can't write about the soundtrack because it's the same soundtrack that they've been using for the last 30-odd years. There's nothing new in there. I'll probably have a look afterwards, see what the soundtrack. There's probably little things in there, but I didn't notice anything. I mean, even then, the prequels had Duel of Fates. That's the one where the opera singers start going, ah, ah, that one. But they don't even have soundtrack. So, you haven't got scenery, you haven't got good characters, you haven't got good plot, you haven't got the soundtrack. So, really, there's nothing there. I mean, I think maybe 4 out of 10 is too generous, but, some things happen. There was a little twist in there that I thought, okay, that was pretty good, I'll give them that. And, I don't want to hate Star Wars, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not really Star Wars anymore. This is just someone's fan fiction. And what upsets me is Disney have sort of just taken a franchise and, just milking it. They do a new film every year. At least with George Lucas, no matter what you think about him, I think he cared. I think at least he cared. Because it was his thing, and fair enough, you're going to care about that. But Disney don't care. It's just another cash cow. And they're using it. I'm glad I didn't technically pay for the ticket because I've got my Cineworld card. So, Cineworld, get the money. And, yeah, this isn't a, advertisement for them. But, you could probably get like an Emma card and those things. But it's just a cash cow. So they don't care about it. And, there was a lot of new ships and things, and that's just product placement. And again, I don't like that. You could, and even if you're going to put in new things, do something with them, make them look cool, make them do something. And I'm not Mr. Action Pack. I'm quite happy with, I said just some guy sitting in a chair for an hour and a half. I could watch that as long as there's a story or, he's an interesting character, but these characters aren't interesting. So anyway, I've probably kept you too long. So that was my review. 4 out of 10. I wouldn't recommend watching it. You know, if you want to see what happens, go on then. You can go see what it is. But, you know, I wouldn't expect too much. And maybe that's what you should go into. Don't expect much, and maybe you'll be surprised. I mean, yeah. So anyway, that was my first film review. Thanks for watching.